The following is a Cheeky Leprechaun production.
Pop culture is the entirety of ideas.
Me, Mario.
Let the bass kick.
I am the greatest.
Holy eggshell!
I am your father.
It's the Pop Culture Experience with myself, Dan O'Kelly. How are we all doing out there? I'm going to turn myself down a little bit loud. It's a bit better. What's news? What have you been doing with yourself? Are you getting through? I know I have a lot of Victorian people listening, so are you getting through lockdown too? I am-ish at the moment, hoping not to go to stage 4. If we go to stage 4, things will become bleak. Mentally, probably out in the world, people will start, breaking down a bit more. This is getting bleak already. But we're not there yet. We might not have to do stage 4. So, at the moment, we have some form of freedom. Beyond that, though, what have I been doing? The usual. All you can really do during these sort of times is either watch things online or online shop. I've done both. Been purchasing a few things online. I'm still getting drawn towards Funko Pops. I know I've spoken about it. I know I've been told not to do it. There are numerous that I have in a cart at the moment that I'm umming and ahhing over, because there is a certain part of, you need to be responsible at some point during these times where a lot of people aren't working much. The economy's shot. Government are handing out money to get people by, but, I'm always telling myself, well, they're giving us that money to spend, and I'm putting it back into the economy. Kind of. So, yeah, that's what I've been doing. It's been good. I've enjoyed it. I'm spending more than I probably should, and I'm watching probably not as much as I could. But let's be honest, at this point in time, during an isolation, there is almost always more time that you could be watching things. So I'm diving in where I can. Today on the show, I've got Callum joining me, which is a good fun chat. We talk about Hamilton, which is one of the latest things I watched on Disney+. It's just dropped, the recorded version of the stage show Hamilton with Lin-Manuel Miranda and the rest of the original cast, which is it's just the most hyped musical I've ever heard of, I think, anyway. In terms of something that came out when I was around, and I've been there for the whole process of seeing the fandom grow and grow. So for it now to be on Disney+, it was, look, I had my arm twisted. People were like, are you going to talk about it on the podcast? I was like, the fact people are asking, probably gotta. Luckily for me, Callum, who's on today's episode, is such a big theatre buff. Huge theatre buff. The biggest I know. And I know some theatre buffs. But not only is he a theatre buff, his love for Hamilton in particular is undeniable. The man is a walking encyclopedia for Hamilton, as well as all things stage shows, I guess. So I had him on to get his thoughts on what he saw on Disney+, because while he'd listened to it all and he'd sort of followed it as much as he could, he'd seen clips here and there, he, like the rest of us, had never, unless you'd seen the show live, which, hasn't been in Australia, haven't seen it until now. So that was his first opportunity to be able to see it. So we pick his brain on that, and we talk about, the whole story of Hamilton. Why you should give it a go. I needed some convincing, but I did it, and I'd recommend it. Anyway, let's go now to my chat with Callum. Callum Dorsett has joined the podcast. How are you, mate?
I'm very well. How are you?
Good. It's exciting to have you on, especially because I kind of felt like, well, there was a topic this week I wanted to talk about. I sort of had to talk about, and I knew very little about it going in, and that's Hamilton, the recording of the stage show, which has just dropped on Disney+. Now, I'm a big stage show guy, but I know a bigger stage show guy, and that is none other than you, mate. So, are you excited to talk about it?
Yeah, I love it. I've been following Hamilton pretty much since it first released. I learned all of the words to the soundtrack when that dropped.
Just Spotify on repeat or what?
Yeah, so pretty much because the whole show is one big song, in a way, I just listen to the whole soundtrack in order and just feel like I was there. And you could sort of picture it at times, but it's nothing like actually watching it on Disney Plus. And I've always wanted to see the show, and I think that's the closest thing I'll ever get to it at this point.
So you've never seen the stage show even removed from the original cast? You just haven't seen it at all in person?
No, because I've never been able to go over to like just say, oh, I'm going to go to Broadway to watch Hamilton.
You are a bit of a traveller. I thought you might have got over, especially for something this big. You're the kind of guy where when you're into something, you drop everything for that and you will go to extreme lengths. That's how I feel about you.
Well, I'd like to say the same. Like, I did the same for Kinky Boots when it was here. We saw it, well, my family and I saw it Melbourne, Sydney, and Brisbane.
Wow.
So, like, I'd travelled for shows before, but going to New York, that's just a different ballpark.
Well, isn't Hamilton, or wasn't it, before the world we now live in, wasn't it scheduled to come to Australia?
So it was meant to be in Sydney, I think it's this year or next year. I can't 100% remember. I do remember one of my friends and I, we said we were going to fly up and see it though, as soon as we could get tickets.
Yeah.
But then again, thinking about how long you'd be on the waiting list for that would be insane, because when Harry Potter was out here, that was insane, just being on the waiting list for that.
Did you get tickets?
I've not seen it. I've never been big on Harry Potter though.
Oh, that's big. You're kind of like me. I'm a bit like that too.
I don't know. I can't do the sci-fi. I like the fantasy. I like Star Wars, and that's about as sci-fi as I can get.
So you wouldn't be a Lord of the Rings man either?
No, I couldn't stand the first one.
Okay, wow. Okay, yeah, there you go.
I think I watched The Hobbit in cinemas, and I'm pretty sure I nearly fell asleep.
All right, let's move on before people stop listening.
I know. I'm so sorry.
So tell me though. So when it comes to a stage show, it's a very unique experience to watch a stage show.
Yeah.
Now, I'm big on stage shows, but I sort of alluded to off the top here that I felt like I had to watch Hamilton in order to talk about it. And honestly, I've heard nothing but great things, but I went in kind of being like, it's not the same as if you're there.
Yeah.
So that was an issue I had going into this.
I think stage shows, they do rely on that atmosphere so much. Just sitting there in the audience with all these other people who 90% of the time are seeing it for the first time as well. And you hear the reactions in everyone. And I think when you're watching it on TV, that's taken away.
Yep.
So I was hesitant in that same aspect, because you're not going to feel the room and like feel the emotions of the actors. But that's where I think the camera angles did so well, that you could see all of these actors sweating, tearing up, and you could just feel it. I found myself at the end of the show tearing up, and I couldn't believe it. It's the second stage show to make me cry.
I was about to say, are you a crier though? You strike me as a crier.
No.
I tend to be a bit of an emotional guy in a good movie. I don't know if I've ever teared up in a stage show though, but here's the thing with Hamilton. I know what you're saying. In the end, you get sort of wrapped up in the closing of the story, and I went in totally like dry. I didn't know a thing about the Hamilton story. I knew nothing about it. When I see people like, George Washington popping up, I'm like, hey, I know him. That's good. That's somebody I can it's a point of reference for me. Beyond that, I didn't know really what the story was going to revolve around, other than this is going to be set in the old days.
Yeah. I think I was the same. Like, never really studied American history, never really cared about it. You know the names because I guess like common TV, things like that. It just comes up. But didn't know the story as much as I'd listened to the soundtrack. I had a gist.
Yep.
But didn't really understand until I watched it. And when you can see everything playing out, I think then you kind of understand.
Well, it's interesting because so this show, tell me as an aficionado of stage shows like you are, tell me, what was the last stage show that made this much of a had this much mainstream appeal world round? Like, I can't, all I could think was like Jersey Boys or Book of Mormon, maybe. Book of Mormon.
I think Book of Mormon had a really big fan base. Again, a show I wasn't that big of a fan of. I enjoyed it,
Oh, really? Okay.
but I thought it was overhyped. I never got into it as much.
Yeah.
The only show I could think of before this, though, would either be Book of Mormon or Wicked.
Yeah, okay.
Wicked had that insane, like, run on Broadway. It was huge. Defying Gravity, probably one of the biggest Broadway songs of all time. But other than that, I can't think of one off the top of my head.
Well, and that's why Book of Mormon, I can understand the global appeal because religion, especially some religion, can translate really well globally of people's opinions on something. That's what that largely stemmed from, was people on a majority scale all share sort of an opinion of maybe that religion. So we could all come together and go, yeah, it is a bit weird, isn't it?
But today's climate, you could not make that musical.
Well, no, that's 100% true, but you could say that for a lot of stuff now.
Oh, yeah.
But with Hamilton, I kind of felt like it had the American effect. It had the same thing we see in the Oscars year in, year out. If you tell a story about an American politician, about an American war hero, anything along those lines that's American and it is patriotic in any regard, it's going to get huge groundswell, especially within America. So that's what happened. This stage show was like, this is mind-blowing. It's made our history. It's telling a story of our history, and it's doing it in this newfound way, which is entertaining. That's cool. But at the same time, as an Australian watching it, I'm kind of like, I still don't know if I care about Alexander Hamilton.
Yeah, I get that. And I think at the end of it, I just went into this headspace. I didn't care about the American history, but I fell in love with the characters of this story.
Okay.
And I think Aaron Burr, for me, he was one of my favorite characters in the show because he has the most emotional story. Like, that arc is just incredible to watch. From where we see him starting to the end.
Yeah.
We did a full circle with him. And it's so emotional. And I can't remember the actor's name, but he won a Tony for that role.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so he won Best Male Actor in a Musical in 2016.
Is that when this show first started, 2016?
I think so.
Okay.
I know that's the year that they won all the awards.
Yeah, okay. Well, I do agree that what was so good about it and what did keep me captivated was it sort of transcended a historical story into just being quite an entertaining story in general. So the way, which is pretty hard, and it speaks to Lin-Manuel Miranda, because to be able to take this story, which, let's face it, you Google stuff from the 17th century, or when was this? 18th century?
18th, yeah.
Yeah. It looks boring. The paintings look like a boring time. People look ugly. They look boring. And I have no interest in being in that time period at all. He found a way. Am I correct in thinking he wrote this whole thing?
I don't know. I think he did write the whole thing.
I'll look it up.
He didn't direct.
No, he didn't direct it.
He did all the lyrics because it was originally started off as the Hamilton Mixtape.
Oh.
Which is what he was going to publish before it transformed into a musical.
Hang on, explain that. What is that?
So it was Lin-Manuel's idea of writing a rap about Hamilton's life and releasing this mixtape called the Hamilton Mixtape.
So it's going to be like a CD almost, or a record that he was going to... Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was never meant to be this big musical from what I understood. But he was going to release it as this soundtrack that you just an album pretty much. And that's what it was going to be. And then he performed the first song, Hamilton at the it was something to do with the president. I don't know. It was just like some poetry night,
Mm.
and it got a lot of traction from that. And then from there, I'm not sure where the story goes and how it became a musical.
What was
Got it today.
Where was he before Hamilton? Like Lin-Manuel, what was he doing? Was he famous already? To be performing in front of the president implies
Yeah, so he did In the Heights, which is another musical, which incorporated American hip hop and Latin music.
Mhm.
And that was his first big stage show. So he did that on Broadway, and he won a Tony for that as well.
Mm.
So he was fairly well successful by then.
See, for some reason, I just assumed that Hamilton was that was it for him. That was what brought him to the party. But okay, he was already a Tony winner.
Yeah, so he won a Tony, but he didn't have that much traction at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So as big as he was, people weren't going to see In the Heights like they did for Hamilton in the end.
Okay.
It was big, but Broadway wasn't as booming as it was now, I guess you could say.
Yeah, well, probably not right now, but
Yeah, well, yeah.
yeah. Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I didn't realize In the Heights was him until I'd done some research on him afterwards and watched some of his interviews when I was interested in Hamilton, just trying to get snippets of the show.
Yep. So, in terms of the actual show, though, I was definitely a fan. I walked away from it. I think mainly what I was surprised with was just how well they did to modernize it and find a way to make it engaging for a young audience. Because let's be honest, you and I both worked at a cinema, right? That's how we know each other. They brought out that Lincoln film with Daniel Day-Lewis. And, I mean, did you see that?
No.
Exactly.
Oh, look, I didn't even know it came out.
Exactly. So my point on that is who goes to these films, these stories told about that generation or that period of time? It's an older generation. It's, your senior citizens are going to be like, oh, yeah. Whereas this allows a young age group, or let's be honest, all age groups, to be able to have an interest in a story from that time, which there is an importance with because it's historical, especially in an American culture. It's important for people to know that story because that's really the story of the founding fathers of America, I guess.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it couldn't have been done unless it had that hip hop beat to it. The whole show, it just wouldn't have flowed in the same way. Like you look at the cabinet battles, having those as rap battles, it helped project something that's meant to be so boring. Because every now and again, I guess more commonly, if you watch the news now and you see the PM in doing those boring talks, in all honesty, could you imagine if they did a show with that incorporated and it wasn't like a rap?
Oh, it's mind blowing that. And I assume that just comes from that's something he's interested in. He's obviously a fan of rap, and he's incorporated two things that he likes, which is, I don't know, historical things and rap. And that, but I would never have put those two together, ever.
No, it doesn't seem like it should work.
No,
they seem like the two furthest things apart, but it works so well. It just complements each other.
Yep.
And I think it's so interesting how it's going to change how shows are made from now on as well.
Well, it's sort of, this is allowed all stage shows, especially big stage shows. Hamilton being purchased by Disney Plus for $75 million, which is huge, has allowed. Well, why would they not go and film these things now? Like, if you've got a big stage show, suddenly this is an avenue for a stage show to capitalize more financially, and potentially, actors and everyone involved get paid more thanks to the success of Hamilton. Because I would imagine Disney Plus has seen a rise in subscriptions, especially from an adult demographic.
I nearly bought Disney Plus just to watch it, but I have a mate who's also a big theatre fan, so he sent me his subscription. He was like, watch Hamilton, it needs to be done.
You dodged.
And it
You
was
dodged.
great.
You didn't give it your money. You're meant to give the art that you support your money. No, look, I'm kidding. I thought
I
I
go to
tried.
enough shows.
I tried to download it, but I couldn't, so I had to get Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Hey, tell me. I want to get your opinion, right?
All right.
Favorite song from Hamilton?
Oh God.
Because
that's
hang
a
on,
horrible question.
hang on. Can I just set this up? All right. So a lot of people won't know you the way I know you, but
Yeah.
you are a man of flair. You are a man of confidence. You are a man of. Yeah, you're a stage
I'm
performer
blushing.
yourself. You're a stage performer yourself, and I know you enjoy a spotlight. So, I watched Hamilton, and knowing that there would be a little part in your brain somewhere that's going, God, one day I hope I get to be in a production of Hamilton. I reckon I could pick the role that you wanted. All right, and it's
All
not
right.
the lead. It's not Hamilton.
No.
No,
it's not. Okay.
no.
I think you know who it is.
I reckon I've got it because you know why? It was my favorite character too. You ready for it? I hope I'm right. King George.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love King George.
That maybe is my favorite song in a musical.
Oh, I agree.
What's it called? Is it You'll Be Back?
There's 3 of them, so
Yeah.
I know him. It's the last one.
Mhm.
You'll be back.
Mhm.
I've got to check my phone for the last one.
It's without a doubt the most fun in the whole show.
Oh, I agree.
His performance, Jonathan Groff, I believe his name is. I think I'm
Yes.
correct. His performance in that, every time he walks on stage, and he walks on stage maybe 3 or 4 times throughout the
3
whole
times.
productions. 3 times. It is captivating, and the audience respond accordingly to that. Every time he walks on, it's exciting. It's almost like Kramer in Seinfeld. He comes bursting in the door, and you're like, yes, love this guy. Same thing in this. You're like, King George is the highlight of this show for me.
And it's the way he stands out throughout the whole show as well. He's that eccentric monarchy, but he plays it so well.
Ah,
The audience get into it as well. Like, you could hear the laughter,
yep.
and you could just feel how excited he was to be there.
He was mind blowing as an actor, and here's the little
Oh, yeah.
here's a little gem that I came to learn, which I was surprised with. He is a spitter in terms of being an actor. He will spit when he plays his roles, and that's a bit of a stagey thing, is it? Like a stage performer can.
You
spit.
could see it in the first song.
Mm-hmm.
Because the cameras are so close, you can see all of that.
Yeah.
And you could see him spit in the first one. But I think it's because it was such a big note to push out that I guess that's how he got it out.
But it was funny because you know what I thought, as somebody that had no idea whether that was just a certain performance piece of the actor's repertoire, is that he spits a lot when he speaks. I just thought, I was like, is this a layer to the character of King George? Is this the over the top pig of a ruler that is this King George? Is that something he's decided to do? No. But I felt it fit the character.
Yeah. Oh, it 100% does.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take away at any point. It's like, it is great that he does it because you can feel it. It's almost like it's the perfect way for his character to be represented. It's like spitting down on the lower class.
Yep.
And
I
I think-
thought it was great.
Yeah, I agree. And what I love about the whole show is there is so much symbolism through the reprising of each song. Because you never hear a song once. Lyrics will pop up over and over again.
Yeah. Like, what was that one that repeated the whole way? I think, like, Take My Shot or something.
Yeah,
Sort of,
My
it
Shot. It
kept looping
pretty
back
much
through.
every time Hamilton was singing, in some point there would be a reference to My Shot.
Yeah.
And I think Lin-Manuel did a really good job at holding the whole show together because he did that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same as the King George's songs. All 3 of them are the same. They're just different words, but they've got the same melody and the same sort of gist.
Yep.
So it works. It makes you so familiar with what's happening.
And I think that's what I liked about those songs, the King George songs, where they were fun. The story of Hamilton and the time period that it's set in, it can be very bleak and very, like, even a lot of the costumes, there wasn't much flair to it. And you only really saw that, whether it be King George or the third president of the United States. What was his name?
Oh
no. This is why we're Australian. Not American. Here we go. Let me get it. Was it Thomas Jefferson?
Thomas Jefferson, yeah.
I didn't even get to Google yet. I just remembered.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is no help.
But yeah, it was nice to have those moments with King George where there was a bit of levity. There was a bit of lightness to it, and it was just fun. The tune to it was very upbeat, very playful, and very silly.
I agree. And I think it's the same with Jefferson in his first song where he comes out in the second act. What Did I Miss?
Yep.
It's so upbeat. And it is because he wasn't in America for all of the war. So it is quite funny.
Yeah,
but you could see
that was
this
the strange
big character
thing.
coming back.
Yeah. The strange thing about, not that I ever wanted to know where, be able to place these historical figures of American society or culture, but it was interesting to sort of be like, oh, okay, so Jefferson wasn't even in the States. That's weird. I'm not sure. They kind of alluded to why, I think, but that was one thing I did have an issue with Hamilton was I'm not a big rap guy, all right? Not a big rap guy. Therefore, I have a tendency to struggle keeping up with it. The lyrics, they're all happening a lot, all right? And
they're quick.
I'm this real, boring straight edge guy that's sort of sitting there like, what was that? I missed that bit. Oh, and then I've missed, some of the plot. That was very quick lyrics being, rapped about, for lack of a better term. But
I am
was
the
annoying.
same in a way. I've never got into rap. If you went through my phone and looked at all my music, barely any rap songs on there. I think the only time I've got into rap was probably for Hamilton.
Okay.
And then I love grime. I love Stormzy.
So now...
And that's the Pom in me. I'm a big Stormzy fan.
So do you feel that Hamilton has opened your horizons up to a bit of rap? Is that what we're getting?
Really.
Okay.
Look, not really. I tried 6ix9ine things like that. I don't understand what he's saying. I don't know what goober is.
Oh, I love it. I don't think it would have been Lin-Manuel Miranda's intention to get people into rap with Hamilton, but it got you to try. It got you to have a dabble.
It got me to try. Look, I found out I love Stormzy, and I don't like 6ix9ine's goober.
Okay.
There we go. Now we know two sides of the spectrum.
Well, I know Stormzy, but I don't know the other thing you're talking about. So, is that
Have
a
you not
person?
heard 6ix9ine's goober?
Is that a song?
Yeah, it's not really a song.
Wait, is that film clip that got a ridiculous amount of views?
Yeah.
Oh, I
So
did.
it was the most viewed video in 24 hours.
It's got a lot of arse in it, doesn't it? Like a lot of arses.
Yeah, Nicki Minaj is in it.
Well, that's an arse, yeah.
Yeah.
Certainly. That's.
But they took off his prize for it because apparently it was advertised too much, the video.
Oh, so it didn't technically count.
So it technically didn't win.
Oh,
I thought that was pretty funny. I saw that on TikTok the other day.
It's
a bit of a giggle.
The amount of shit people are finding out information-wise on TikTok is just ridiculous. Like, people come to me with genuine news, and I'm like, oh, where'd you hear that? TikTok? What?
Yeah. TikTok's great.
Isn't TikTok just people being like, oh my God, today I did this. Bang, stop that video, start the next video. And then this happened. Isn't that the idea? It's like choppy videos of people just talking to camera.
It used to be like that, but I don't think it is as much anymore. I feel like most of my feeds all like news or like something to do with stock trading, as boring as it is, but that's just what my feed is. And I didn't think that's how my TikTok would go.
I didn't think TikTok would imagine that's how anyone's feed would go, but apparently stock markets. Okay, interesting.
I know, it's bending the rules.
Hey, tell me, I've just noticed something. in this little, we spoke off air about this. You're in a loft within your house, which is just fantastic. What a great space to have for yourself. I want to know, what is the poster on the wall back there behind you?
I've got one of James Dean,
Oh,
and then
yeah,
I've got
that
Elvis
one.
Presley
You're
down
kidding.
the other end.
What is the Elvis one?
It's the King Corral.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
that
I
is
got
a
it
great
because-
song. That's a great song
Yeah.
and a good decent movie for Elvis movie standards.
Oh yeah, I'm a big fan, and I got into it because of doing All Shook Up last year, which you came to see.
I did come and see
So,
that. That was
like,
great.
I did watch like most of the Elvis films, and I did enjoy them.
The Elvis films were such a good example of 60s pop culture. Like they were massive, but they were also largely crap too. Like there wasn't very many good ones. But
No.
it's always been disappointing about Elvis because I always felt like he could have offered a bit more. When you see movies like A Star Is Born, you know he was originally meant to be in that. In the
Really?
in the
The first one?
version, I don't know if it was the first one. I'm pretty sure it was the version with Barbara Streisand because that was it. Barbara Streisand that was in one.
Oh, I don't know 100%.
Let me get it up because this was a fun fact I learned. Where hang on, A Star Is Born. There's been a bunch of these, hasn't there? 19. I want to say 76. There you go. Yeah. So it was the one with Barbara Streisand and Chris Christopherson. Now,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I believe Elvis was meant to play the Chris Christopherson character, which I guess is the equivalent to what would have been Bradley Cooper's in
Bradley
the most
Cooper,
recent. Yeah. So what happened was Elvis was on that. This is fat Elvis at this point. This is towards the end. This is probably 1970. So it was 1976 the movie came out. So this would have been actually maybe not that fat of an Elvis. 1974, I believe, he had a meeting with Barbara Streisand where she said to him, I want you to star in this movie with me, A Star Is Born. Elvis was super keen on it. This was going to be, he was seeing this as a legitimate movie. Barbara Streisand, big time Hollywood actress. He was seeing this as his first legitimate foray into films. He was like, thank God, I'm finally going to get a serious role with a serious studio, and they're taking it seriously. It's not going to be a classic Elvis film like we know. Colonel Tom Parker put a stop to that. He completely tarnished the whole potential for the deal to happen. And that is largely where the rumoured falling out happened with Elvis and Tom Parker. Is it Colonel Tom Parker? Yeah, it is. His manager, because Elvis had just, that was it. By this point, he was fed up with everything that the Colonel had done to sort of halt his career. Like he's, as big as Elvis was, he could have been a lot bigger. He was
I was
never
going to say,
allowed.
how could you halt Elvis?
Well, think about it. He never let Elvis tour internationally. And that was because
Yeah.
Parker couldn't go with him because he was actually an illegal immigrant. He wouldn't have been able to get back into America. So if he had left with Elvis, he wouldn't have been able to get back in. But if he didn't go with Elvis, he was concerned that other people would have that opportunity without the Colonel around to get in Elvis's ear, sort of like either allude to he could do better than his deal with Tom Parker, or, get different management. So he always micromanaged his career, and that spilled into that potential film with Barbara Streisand in A Star Is Born, which that was a huge film. That version of A Star Is
Yeah.
Born was massive. So
Didn't it win an Oscar?
I think Barbara Streisand at least won an Oscar for it.
Yeah.
But can you imagine if Elvis had a start in that? Imagine
That would just be...
what
that
would
would
have
be
happened with his,
historical.
what would have happened to him if he was allowed to have done that? Like, would he have got into the shape that he eventually got into in 1977 when he reached the end of his life? And you don't know. All these things are unknowns.
Yeah.
But
I think
I don't
it's
know.
hard because you always speculate about things that don't happen.
you could say it about anyone.
Something major about pop culture, you always wonder, what if something else happened? How would have it changed?
It's crazy to think. There's a lot of things in pop culture, especially, that could be very different, depending. if things had gone a little bit differently. But there you go. So you got a little Elvis poster there. I'm proud of you. That's nice. I
Oh,
like
thank
that.
you. Yeah, so I got like lots of little posters around the house like that.
Well, what do you think of the whole James Dean being CGI'd into a new film, which is happening apparently, and
Really?
not with the blessing of his family.
Oh,
Yeah. So that's the point technology's at now. They've got a new film for James Dean to star in, and he's going to be the star. He's going to be the lead. It's odd.
I don't like that.
I don't think I like
I
it.
don't
either.
like it. It's the same as when they did Carrie Fisher in Star Wars. Yeah, in episode 8, something just didn't sit right with me about it. And I understand that it was like her legacy in a way, but I couldn't help but think throughout that entire film, that's not Carrie Fisher
Yeah.
in parts. And the episode 9, same thing. I definitely knew that wasn't Carrie Fisher. I thought it was cool how they did it, but just didn't sit right.
Well, the Carrie Fisher one was weird because first of all, there was already a bit of a sour taste in fans' mouths after Last Jedi. So,
Yeah.
was it Last Jedi? No.
Yeah, Last Jedi was episode 8, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was Rise of Skywalker? Wait, was that the last one? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Last Jedi, people were already a little bit like, I've got a sour taste in my mouth about this movie. Didn't love it. On top of that, Carrie Fisher's now freaking died. Like this, it kind of felt like, okay, at this point, the Star Wars, the new trilogy is a lost cause. Like maybe we just write this whole thing off. And I felt like the Carrie Fisher being CGI'd into it or whatever sort of was latched onto by a fan base that were a bit disgruntled by it already. Mixed with, there is just something that doesn't sit right in your gut as a human of, let's just act like she's still here.
Yeah. Yeah. Same with the Paul Walker in Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
I think out of all of the ones that we've talked about now, that was the best handled. It was his last film. They finished it, and then he never came back.
Yeah, so remind me, because I'm not a big Fast and the Furious guy.
Yeah.
I struggle with it. I don't get motivated to watch them. I find them a bit wanky. But I did hear great things about that. So,
Yeah.
because didn't he appear like right at the end in like some sort of like flashback or something? What happened?
I'm not 100% sure. Not the biggest fan again, but like I did enjoy watching them the first round.
Yeah.
So from what I understood, he passed away during filming. So they had
Okay.
a fair portion amount
Yep.
of scenes done, and they couldn't really start over again with the whole movie.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, big role
Yep.
with Paul Walker. So they got his brother in and CGI'd a little bit as well.
So they CGI'd the face on or something?
Yeah. I'm guessing
makes
his brother
sense.
obviously looked very similar.
Yep.
So they did that throughout the rest of the film, and at the end of the film, you had the parting ways between Vin Diesel and Paul Walker's characters, and that was it. And then they left Paul Walker out for the rest of the movies.
So tell me, did they kill off his character or not? Or is it
I
sort
don't
of
think
just...
so. I think we know he's alive, but he's like with his family or something in the universe, so that way he just doesn't get brought back into it.
Well, that's the hardest part, isn't it? That was what everyone was kind of like, what are they going to do about Carrie Fisher? One, you've got to explain why you're not having them around anymore. So how do you do that in a way where it doesn't backfire on the studio and make them look bad? But at the same time, you don't want to act as if you're, it's a bit of a slap in the face to a fan base to just treat them like they don't know why. Like,
Yeah.
oh, she died, but let's act like that didn't happen and let's just make up some other thing. So it's this balancing act of, do we go with the death in real life and then replicate that on screen? Is that tacky? It feels a bit dirty. Or do we just, turn a blind eye to the fact she died and just have some nice storybook ending, even though everyone's going to go,
Yeah.
well, she's only not in it anymore because she died. I
I
don't
feel
know.
like it is a really fine line for studios in
Yeah.
particular. Something about having her in 2 films after she died, though, just felt weird. I think the way that they ended her in Rise of Skywalker was a really good way, and I think it did justice
Yep.
because it felt like that was the natural course. But I think if they did it in The Last Jedi, then I think it just would have been a little bit better because then you don't have to try again in the next film. I don't know. That's just my personal thoughts on it, though.
That's true. I guess there was that option to sort of end it in Last Jedi, and that probably felt like the one where people would have been more accepting if she
Yeah.
had, like when she was outside the ship, and mind you, it was before she went like that and came back, which people hated too. But
Oh, yeah.
that
But you
felt
can't
like
please everyone.
you can't, and I try and not be cynical, and but it is hard when you read everything and you read all the backlash on certain topics. You're like, I have to try and be positive. You have to try and be
Yeah.
positive.
I get that. Like, as much as the backlash was happening when The Last Jedi came out, I was like, oh, I actually enjoyed it. You know,
Mm,
I'm just in there, I'm just watching a film at the end of the day.
yeah.
And I don't want to go in there watching a film thinking I'm going to hate this.
hmm
I just want to enjoy myself on there.
Well, I was watching last night. I watched The House. Have you seen that? The Will Ferrell movie. It's
Oh, yeah, where he's like got the underground casino.
yeah, and like sort of going off what you were saying, like I don't like to criticize too much. Like at the end of
Yeah.
the day, I will sit there and not walk away and go, that was a bad movie. I'll be like, God, how did they make that? That's like, I'm surprised that exists. That's kind of cool. And I watched that last night. And at the end of it, I said to George, I was like, it was just okay, wasn't it? And she's like, I didn't like it. And I was like, I was disappointed in myself for having been negative on it. Like, it wasn't a bad movie, but I had this moment of, I wish I'd watched something else tonight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that. Did you watch Will Ferrell's Eurovision movie?
I haven't yet. Is it any good?
Oh, you've got to watch it. It's really good.
Is it funny?
I went in. It is funny. Like, I had some good giggles.
Okay, because what I want to ask straight off the bat is, do I need to know a lot about Eurovision though?
No. No way. You can tell it's coming from a Eurovision fan who's wrote this. Will Ferrell is a big into Eurovision and he loves it. And he does a lot of Easter eggs
That's what I'd heard.
to please a Eurovision fan.
Mm.
But you don't need to be in the Eurovision like fan base to enjoy it.
Okay, well, that's positive. I might watch it.
It's a good comedy, if nothing else. And the songs are pretty good in it.
How many, off the top of your head, how many laugh out loud moments did you have? Did you have one? Did you have a couple?
Oh,
Like, did you watch it by yourself?
yeah.
Okay, you know how you watch a comedy very differently while you're by yourself. Like, you won't necessarily laugh out loud as much. You'll have those registering moments of, that was funny. But sometimes
I had a few laugh out louds.
Really? A few?
Yeah, a few. I know. I'm not big on laughing out loud. I do the cheeky giggle,
Big cheeky
but
giggle.
but when I watched that, I couldn't help but laugh. Will Ferrell just really showed he's a national treasure.
Well, okay, you've sold me. Because here's my rule of thumb with a comedy. If I get one really good laugh out loud, I'm happy. I'll go home and go, that wasn't bad. That was pretty good. If I get a couple, I'm starting to be like, oh, I love that movie.
Yeah. You know what the best part is? The opening of the movie sets it up so well. It is the most ridiculous beginning to a film that it's perfect.
Oh, you've
And I
actually...
don't want to give it
you've done
away.
You've done it. You've whet my appetite. I might watch this today. I might actually...
Yeah,
I'm meant
I think
to
you
be.
should.
People listening to this show know I'm meant to be in the middle of a Hobbit marathon and Lord of the Rings trilogy. You might have just put it on the back burner for a night, and I might have to watch it.
Treat yourself. Well, technically, because it's set in Norway, it's not that far from all that mythology.
Yeah, it's nice scenery.
We've got elves going on.
That's my justification. If I get asked by Justin or anyone else, I'll let them know that that's what you said. Very good.
Yeah.
Last one before we will wrap it up, mate. I want to go back to Hamilton, finish on the high note we started on. Do you think, now that they've filmed it, right? They've got this forever. It'll be on Disney+. One, do you want to see a feature film adaptation of it? Two, do you think it needs it?
No.
both.
I don't think it needs a feature film. I think it's so perfect as a stage show. And I think adding too many flavors to it would take away from the music. I think the best like example is the Battle of Yorktown is so minimalistic in the actual show, and where it goes from Battle of Yorktown to the world turned upside down, that is perfectly done, where it is you don't need a full battle scene. If it has a movie, without a doubt there's going to be a full battle scene, and it's going to be unnecessary and just not needed. And I think that's what would take it away. These studios are going to add in too many special effects and take away from the magic. And I think now that it's filmed and on Disney Plus, why would you need a film as well?
It's always struck me as Lin-Manuel Miranda will do it in order to allow him to star in a film.
Yeah.
Don't you get that vibe? Because he has seemed to have crossed over into film and television now. I mean, he was in Mary Poppins as the chimney
Yeah.
sweep. It feels like it's his opportunity. You know what this is? Callum, are you ready for this? This is his Sylvester Stallone in Rocky. He owns it. He's got all the rights to it. He will say, look, we can do a feature film, but guess what? I'm bloody Rocky. I am Hamilton, you know?
But you say that, but In the Heights is coming out next year, and he was the lead role in that for when it was on Broadway. I don't think he's in it, the movie.
But did he own that? I feel he owns Hamilton.
Oh, maybe not. I'm not 100% sure, in all honesty.
I don't know if
It
he
has
owns
got
Hamilton.
similar cast. I'm sure he owns Hamilton.
I'm almost positive he owns Hamilton. And that I feel just... Look, I wouldn't judge him for it. He would be smart to do it.
Yeah.
It's one hell of a career move. So here's this is where you and I differ. I feel I would benefit from a film adaptation of it because I think the scope of a film helps me. I think there are times in a stage show where I am confused. I'm like, where are we? Where are we meant to be right now? I struggle a little bit in the changing of scenes. I get a little bit lost. I can find myself lagging behind. A film, it makes it easy for dumb people like me, where we can go, oh, great, this is a different setting. Fantastic. Now I know where we are.
Okay.
But it is hit and miss. I've seen Jersey Boys, the feature film, and that was forgettable. That was forgettable, but I loved the stage show. I loved the stage show. So but then you look at Les Mis, and I love the film.
Oh, that is a fantastic film. And it's cast so well.
Thought you were going to say you hated it for a second.
Oh, how could I? I love Hugh Jackman.
Oh, you do too. You're a big Hugh Jackman guy.
Yeah.
That I would almost say the Les Mis film really got me into musicals even more. That was really what solidified for me. I like this genre.
That's a big entry as well. Like, I feel like Les Mis is huge on like scale.
Yeah.
Because it is just, again, like Hamilton, it's one song at the end of the day.
Yep. And that's what a
don't
lot of
stop
people
singing.
that's what a lot of people hated about Les Mis, especially the film, because you get a more mainstream audience go and see a movie, right? Especially when you've got Hugh Jackman, Russell Crowe, Anne Hathaway, big name actors. And Amanda Seyfried, or however you pronounce her last name. But so a lot of people would say to me at that point, because I was raving about it, and they were like, they never stop singing. When they're talking, they're singing. Fast forward to 2020, I haven't heard that about Hamilton at all. People don't seem to have that concern.
Well, I think Hamilton's different though, because Les Mis is one genre of music that the whole way through, it's pretty much just that classic Broadway ballad.
Yep.
And that's how it feels, and it's really dark and heavy. Hamilton, because you've got the rap, you've got your classic Broadway ballads in there. So I feel like it has got different paces.
That's true.
And I think that's maybe where the difference lies.
And I think you're right. The rap in particular does help make it a little more palatable for a younger audience, doesn't it? It feels cool. And so that no one wants to come out and talk crap about rap because that would be seen in this day and age as uncool, I would say.
Yeah.
So that mixed with, I mean, rap does lend itself to talking a little bit easier than what a ballad does. So you could be rapping words sounding like you're kind of talking. You're not necessarily singing in these high notes.
Yeah. And I think you can also tell more story through rapping because
Yeah.
you're fitting so much more in a short period of time. You can really branch out that story. It's like the biggest song in probably the show is My Shot, and that is so fast paced as a rap song,
So fast.
but it tells you so much of a story
Yeah.
between where Hamilton is in a position where he first becomes the lawyer, and you're starting off with that to writing all of those essays, like was it 81 essays?
Yeah.
I think some ridiculous number. If you sang about that, that would be so boring to hear.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think you're right. That's true. That's probably why Les Mis wasn't as fondly received. And it makes me sad because I love that one more.
But in saying that, Les Mis has a really big audience as well. And fans are diehard fans.
I tried to get tickets to it on Broadway and could not. So that was very upsetting. Almost ruined my trip.
That is actually quite upsetting.
You know what? Worse. I had the tickets. I left. I was wrapped. And I had to pick them up that night. I get a call. Hey, we're so sorry. We actually oversold the show. Those tickets weren't available. Couldn't believe it. And it was my third day of trying. And on the third day, I got them and had them ripped out of my little paws. I couldn't believe it.
That's horrible. That is
dreadful.
a heartbreaking story.
So
I've never been to New York. So I've never been to a Broadway show. It's like on my bucket list of things I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But if that happened to me, I'd probably break down and cry.
Well, that was my
And
one
it'd be
shot.
a big moment, of course, in the middle of Times Square.
It's like a scene from a movie. You see, like the bird's eye view, camera pulls up, and you see all the people in Times Square going about their lives. No one's stopping, and it's just one lone man. Very sad in the middle of it all. It's fitting.
It is.
It's all right, mate. You don't need to get too depressed. I wasn't that sad about it. I was upset, but not that upset.
Yeah.
That was fun. Love talking about Hamilton. I enjoyed
Oh, that
it.
was great.
You've been telling me for years that I need to find a way to watch it. Thanks for Disney Plus. I now have a way to watch it.
Yeah.
And look, it's worth what is the Disney Plus? Here in
It's
Australia,
like $7.
I think here in Australia it's like $9 because, you know,
Oh, yeah.
conversion, currency, that sort of thing. $9
Or it is
to
free
watch
if you have a
Hamilton.
really good friend.
What's his name?
Adam.
Adam.
It's not our Adam. No, different Adam.
Different Adam. But hey, Adam, you're a good guy. Well done. I didn't have a good friend, so I am a Disney Plus member for the next month before probably cancelling it.
That's fair.
Yeah. Cal, thanks for coming on, talking Hamilton and everything else in between.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
That was good fun, mate. Come back sometime.
Oh, I hope I get invited back.
You will. Have a good one, mate.
Oh, thank you.
Rock it up and down like every which way.
Another episode of the podcast done. Thanks for listening. Thanks to Callum for joining the show. That was, Hamilton's a long watch. I should also put in right here, we didn't talk about that, 2 hours and 40 minutes. If you've got it spare, watch it. If you don't, probably don't jump in until you've got it spare. Because it's you want to really immerse yourself in it. Really sink into it. Let it sort of just grow around you and enjoy. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. I'm not a big stage guy, but, Hamilton was good. Don't forget you can get the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, all those things. Wherever you get your podcast, it's probably there. Should be there. If it's not, let me know. I'll fix it up. And otherwise, on the Cheeky Leprechaun website, cheekyleprechaunproductions.com or cheekyleprechaun.com.au. I think it's the second one. I don't know. I haven't even been on there in a little while. But it doesn't change the fact everything's up on there. So you can get all the stuff from there that you might want to hear or watch. I'm going to stop talking now and instead talk to you next week. Have a good week.
This has been a Cheeky Leprechaun production.